how's it going? Welcome back to another great video with the majestic host, the Savior. Yes, that's right. And we have got a rather dry month of gaming ahead of us. And for this reason, I've been going back playing some older games so I could find a yearly review to give to you today. And recently what I've been enjoying a lot is this game called Chivalry 2. And actually this game isn't that old, it's only a few years old at this point, but it is now complete. So I thought this was the perfect time to give you a yearly review of Chivalry 2, the final version, okay? Chivalry 2 2024, is it worth it? That's what I hope to answer today. The update just came out last month, the final update that adds kind of the final content of this game. And honestly, I've been playing Chivalry for a long time, on and off, and I've just enjoyed the hell out of it. So what better time to talk about it than now? So I played Chivalry 1 back in the day on the PC, and recently on the Xbox, Chivalry 2, which is on GamePass, I've just been enjoying the hell out of it for the last year, on and off, but I finally got back into it because there's so much more content now to get involved with, and I've really enjoyed my time with it, especially the tournament mode. I've just gone through a kind of medieval phase, I guess. I wanted something, a good proper combat medieval game, and to be honest, we don't get many games like that, okay? If you're looking for that kind of medieval fix, if you don't want something, you know, with magic in it, so, you know, that takes out Skyrim, Dark Souls, a lot of big RPG fantasy games, we don't get many good combat kind of medieval sims. You're not giving Chivalry 2 any justice if you compare it to games like Overwatch or other hero shooters, but it is a multiplayer game at the end of the day, and you are doing objective-based gameplay, but it's a lot more tactical than you might think, and the combat is surprisingly deep, okay? There's so many different movesets that you can pull off, you really have to think about your opponent. It's best 1 versus 1, because when you get outnumbered, you're pretty much screwed unless if you're a master of the combat, but that's what makes it feel so, you know, juicy and realistic.
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boy. No way, God.
And sadly, Chivalry 2 is kind of on its way out, but now with the final update, I just thought it was worth talking about for people who haven't ever jumped into it, who have seen it perhaps on Game Pass or on the PC, on Steam. It's on sale right now. Now is the perfect time to jump into this game because it's discounted, it's got so much content, it's finally fully complete. You know, they're not adding any more to this, so it's not a dead game. It's the best it's ever been, or Mordhau, but like I said, that game is pretty much dead. So Chivalry 2 is just the full package, and I've just been enjoying the hell out of it. It's got such a flair to it, a charm, kind of reminds me of like the Fable series. It's a little bit goofy, but also, you know, like I said, the combat is realistic, and it's just a good time. You know, you'll never want bored playing this game, and it just takes me back to the good old days of multiplayer, you know, just having fun, racking up kills. The progression doesn't feel as rewarding as, you know, some staples out there of the multiplayer gaming, like Call of Duty or something like that, or like I said, Overwatch, but you do get all of these different classes which I'll go into. There's so many different game modes, and just the combat never gets old, and that's what's so refreshing about it. So I do hope you enjoy this Chivalry 2 2024 review, something I'm excited to talk about. I'm not sure how many people will actually care about this video, because like I said, this game isn't very popular. It wasn't even that popular on release, and it's not even super old, but the player base is kind of struggling. That's why I wanted to make this video, to get more people involved in this glorious game now that it's all said and done. It's not sponsored, it's just a game I like. Where am I? I think we mixed, I think we saved Medicare.
Movie. Joe Biden, wake up. Joe Biden, wake up.
Strongly believe is
Joe Biden, wake up.
I should probably go home. I'm tired.
Get bashed in the head enough in this game and you will turn out just like Joe Biden. So if you are new to the channel, which might be likely, go down below and subscribe. Do it right now. Have you done it? Welcome to the Wise One community, and to my fellow Wise Ones, thank you for tuning back in. and this is just a video that I want to talk about, a part of my yearly review series. I do deep analytical dives in gaming with my yearly reviews, up-to-date early reviews, and basically the video essays and philosophical content. If you like that type of thing, join this fantastic community. If you are new, because I just love this community so much, I love what we're doing, what we're building. Also, I do a live stream show pretty much as possible during the week, early Japanese time, and it's a great community over there as well. Check out my music, consider supporting the show, because I have tried recently going full time on this, and I'm a little bit slacking on the content, so I need to pick it up, but I can only really do this with your support. That's the only thing that's really keeping me alive, so please, please, please consider dropping a donation. I would appreciate it so much. So, my friend, Chivalry 2 in 2024. Is it worth it? Should you play Chivalry 2 in 2024? Well, I think you know the answer. It's a definite yes, okay? So basically what they've added over time is many new maps, okay? And the final map that they've added is absolutely insane. A giant, castle siege, which is where this game feels the best. There are a lot of good medieval, strategy games out there, but none of them really have that, boots on the ground gameplay that we've all wanted to experience. Chivalry 2 lets you live that kind of medieval fantasy without magic, with any of this, fantasy stuff. It's just pure good medieval greatness. Now, one thing that really surprised me when I played this game is just the graphics, okay? I'm not a big graphics snob. I don't think it's very important unless if the gameplay is good, but this game is a looker for sure. They've updated the visuals over time as well. It's made on the Unreal Engine, and it just looks absolutely fantastic, but also just for charm, okay? Basically, you can choose between different voices, and you get a currency as, you level up. You can pay to get all of these unlocks, which I'll talk about more, which I don't like, but slowly you will unlock things just organically, but none of it actually impacts gameplay, which is what I like. It's all cosmetic, it's all to give you a more, grounded lore experience if you care about that type of thing. But the way you communicate with your other players, this kind of charm, this old, chivalry charm, that's hence the name Chivalry, of knights being boastful or knights being somewhat cocky or evil. It reminds me of classic films like The Princess Bride, all of that kind of great old medieval style. And the 1v1 combat just doesn't get old. It's so fun interacting with your enemy and then obliterating them, or in my instance, basically having too much faith in my own abilities and getting absolutely crushed. They've also added a bunch of new weapons to the game as well, and like I said, there is a shop in the game, and that's something that I'm not really happy with, is the progression, okay? The progression feels a little bit stale. Now, it's much better compared to other multiplayer games, compared to Sea of Thieves, which is another one that I've covered. Basically, as you progress, you can then have access to subclasses, different weapon loadouts, and all of that kind of stuff, and just, get higher and higher up the ranks. And they're all balanced pretty well, at a certain point you will feel more powerful, but a good skilled player can even take on, a badass knight, fully kitted out. It doesn't really matter, that's what I like. It is a skill-based game, and there's just so many different combat options. So let me just talk about the combat quickly, and then we'll get more into the subclasses, the classes, what makes the gameplay good with the different gameplay modes, why I love this game so much. But it all boils down to the combat. If the combat isn't satisfying, why would you be playing this game over and over again? But that's basically the main reason. It's the combat, it's the fact that you can literally live a medieval fantasy, boots on the ground gameplay in a medieval world, storming castles, defending castles, the different, stages of castle defense or attack, and then the brutal combat nature of it, which is what I love so much. So you have, a kick, you have a plunge attack, you have directional attacks, similar to, Kingdom Come Deliverance, but it doesn't feel like hitting a wet blanket. It actually feels like you're slicing into meat. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
It's very visceral, it's very grotesque. You can actually disarm your enemies, shatter their shields, watch them scurry. It's just beautiful, okay? I absolutely love the combat in this game. And now it's even crossplay, so you can play with a wide number of people, which I absolutely love. Wink wink to my buddies out there on PC, you know what to do. Also have power moves as well, where you do some crazy stuff like literally whack someone with the crossguard of your great sword, wind up attacks, heavy attacks, light attacks, in and out plunges. There's a lot of tactical decisions to be made. Big slashes with the sword, running attacks, jumping attacks, tackling. So there's a lot to think about, which can be a little bit overwhelming for new players. I was like that to begin with. Dodging attacks, just ducking under them. It's all very well done, and the hitboxes are finally, 100% on point. That's very important for a hack and slash game like this. It doesn't feel messy, it feels deliberate, which is, pretty rare to find a multiplayer game like this. If you want something refreshing that isn't a shooter, this is just a great time, and I wish more people gave it a chance. Now, like I said, it's complete, it's just 100% perfect, okay, and I can't wait to see what they do with the next. But honestly, compare it to some other medieval games like I talked about, this one still feels the most refined, the one that feels the most polished. But I do have my certain team that I like to play as. I don't like to play as the other one, but it's just a good, dark, rich fantasy without spellcrafting. And I love magic, okay? I love, that RPG goodness, and I love that type of experience, a more slow, methodical game like Dark Souls. But having this kind of gritty, medieval, first-person or third-person game is just great. And yes, you can play in either third-person or first-person, which is very refreshing to have. A lot of games don't even give you that option. So it's catered to both audiences, and honestly, just like the detail in the multiplayer maps is something I haven't really seen. I wish they did a single player campaign. I think if they do that for the next game, this would be like a big hit, because honestly, if they just flesh it out with a little bit of a story, this would be even better. So now let's talk about a few negatives, because there are a few negatives. The first one is the fact that the progression, although it's not bad, it doesn't really feel, super exciting to unlock the next best thing. But when you are, working towards your class, the one that you like the most, and then you get the next subclass, that is the biggest reward you can get. That is the biggest sense of progression you can have in this game, I would say. Everything else is kind of cosmetic and optional, but I do like, customizing my character, changing the outfits. The voices in this game are just hilarious, because you can say so many different things and emote in many different ways, and they all sound so arrogant or, like dreadfully just a medieval classic, just kind of satire. It's just hilarious. I love it. So although it is a little bit grindy, I do have to respect the developers that for the most part, for pretty much everything actually, it's not pay to win whatsoever. It doesn't really give you an advantage, spending real world money on stuff. It's just all cosmetics. But it would be nice if they gave you some of that a little bit more earlier as you're progressing naturally, because it doesn't feel like you unlock much except for subclasses, and it does feel like a hefty grind just to get some cool cosmetics and, customize your character more. So that's a little bit of a slight negative, but it's not a big deal, and it's very rare for multiplayer games to be kind of pure, and this is a pure, just fun multiplayer game with good tactics. So, I mean, what else could you ask for, to be honest? I just love it, honestly. I adjusted my microphone. Sorry if I was a little bit quiet before. Anyway, now let's get into the main thing, what makes this game so good, and that is the objective-based gameplay and the classes, okay? So there are 4 classes in total, okay? You have the Knight, you have the Footman, you have the Vanguard, and then you have the Archer. And all of these play different roles, and they are actually essential to work together if you want to, make this a proper... If everyone was communicating together, then this would be a proper tactical game. Sadly, a lot of people just go in, hack and slash, and just do their own thing. But even without communicating, you can see just from the visuals, it's all very, clarity driven, which I like. It's just smooth, polished gameplay where you can see where you need to push, where you need to defend, who you can get an advantage over, where are the tactical positions, all of that stuff. It's just well designed, and that goes down to the level design, okay? All of the maps are pretty well designed, and they've only got better with time, this last one being absolutely fantastic. But the castles are really the highlight, I would say, of this game. So the Knight is more of the tanky build, okay? And that is where you can have a shield, you can have a heavy shield, a light shield, or a medium-based shield. And these are your kind of tanky types. They also help support. So you can put down a flag to heal other allies. You can sound a trumpet that gives everyone kind of a boost. you know, think of like a supporting mage casting spells, but with this, like I said, it's medieval fantasy, a more realistic version of it, so there's no spell casting. It's literally you going in there, planting a flag, and it just feels great. That's the one I like to play as the most, and then also the archer. There are different subclasses with this one as well, which I'll get into, but the archer is pretty good, and actually it doesn't feel like a cop-out. This doesn't feel like your annoying battlefield kind of sniper far off in the distant that you just can't get, you know, access to, okay? You can easily take out the archers because they are weak as hell, but when they are defending from the castle, that is when you need a knight with a shield, for example. But honestly, being an archer isn't overpowered. It doesn't feel like cheap, because when you are surrounded, you are pretty much screwed. The footman is all about reach, so, you know, think about halberds, polearms, all of that kind of stuff. It's not, you know, straight into the action. You're kind of a wall of defense, or you're kind of poking defensively with that kind of gameplay, which I don't really like, but it is useful for the more novice people out there, I suppose. And then the Vanguard are the super heavy with the most powerful weapons. Think about two-handed great swords, all of that kind of stuff. They deal massive damage, and like I said, this game is brutal, and it doesn't shy away from the brutal nature of medieval warfare, which I really like. A lot of destructible environments, which I love. I love physics in gaming. You know, the boundaries don't feel that restrictive, you know, you don't feel like you need to wander off into the woods, but there's enough area of the maps to explore in these levels, which are very well designed. Lots of different entry points, some nice vertical gameplay with the castles, like I said, which I think is pretty well done. And like I said, everything has weight, everything has impact. You can chop off limbs, decapitate their heads, even grab their heads afterwards, and if you're a sick bastard, I'm not saying I do that, but you know, if you want to enrage the enemies, then there's no better way. You can get on siege weapons as well in the castles. It's just very well thought out. As an archer, you can put down fire pits to basically light your arrows on fire, and each class has, you know, a supporting ability, like I talked about, the flag, healing your allies and stuff like that. They all have their own different abilities, which basically the longer you play, the better you are at killing the enemy, defending. You will basically build up that ability kind of progression so you can actually use it in game. So the footmen, like I said, their ability is more of the medic kind of side of things, and also they can lay down traps to slow down progression of a siege and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And the Vanguard is very powerful, but it does have a more lower HP pool because you are dealing with some pretty powerful weapons. And I like that you can even friendly F your friends by accident. So if you're not careful as an archer, you can actually be more of a detriment, which is realistic, to your team than an ally, and you can actually kill your own teammates, which is, you know, nice that they've added that. So the game modes consist of 1v1, which is a great old time, just, you know, facing off, because the combat is so well done. You know, when you're fighting 1v1, that's when it feels you're really testing your skill, and that's what I love about this game. And then these grand 64-player battles that are just incredible, where you storm these castles, take over these villages, and all this kind of stuff, or defend, which I really like. And this is all objective-based gameplay, so you move from one point to the next, not like capture and hold like in Battlefield, for example. For example, you need to breach the gates, then you need to breach the castle walls, you need to defend the kind of Trojan horse that's going to penetrate, and the kind of door ramming machine, whatever it's called, a battle rammer, and all that kind of stuff. And then you just have simple things like free-for-all, team deathmatch, and even a tournament mode, which I really like, and it really does give you that kind of Game of Thrones vibe, which is what I've been looking for a while now, especially since I'm kind of getting back into House of Dragons for show. I want something gritty, medieval, and this is just the perfect blend of action and fun. So Chivalry 2 in 2024, is it worth playing? 100% yes. This game is now finished. I don't think they're going to add any more free content to it. It's visually still beautiful. It holds up very well. It's not even that old. It's just people kind of forgot about it, and it was never a big hit, which is a shame because I think this game is fun. I know a lot of people aren't into kind of medieval battles, but honestly, the combat here is so great. And if you are a medieval fan like me, you're absolutely gonna love this, and you might have missed it completely when it first released, but now with all of the added maps, new weapons, better progression. Like I said, the subclasses are completely well balanced now. There are different subclasses, like I said, to each one of these. I'm not going to get into all of that, otherwise I'll be here all day, but they all have a slightly different take on the main class, like a knight, for example, and different weapons to go with them. It's just so good. Like, if you lose your weapon, if you get disarmed, you can actually go and pick up a random weapon from the person you just killed. It feels very immersive, that's what I'll say. An immersive multiplayer game, and that's something you don't really get in multiplayer, and it's something I appreciate a lot in my multiplayer games because I love immersive experiences, like RPGs, for example. And the progression is just great. So I just wanted to cover all of that in this Chivalry 2 2024 review. The only thing that's holding it back a little bit is the soundtrack. If they had a glorious soundtrack, like something out of Warhammer, to go along with this, then it would be even perfect. But it's just a great game, and if you're looking for this kind of great multiplayer hack and slash experience, and you don't want magic involved, I would highly recommend this. So that is my Chivalry 2 2024 review, something I've been enjoying. That's what I'm going to do a lot this month, because there aren't many big hitter games coming out, so I'm just going to be talking about games I personally enjoy, some philosophical videos as well, and some analysis of games that I really care about and the story and the themes. So stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you are subscribed. I do hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you tomorrow with another great video. And yeah, have a great day, and peace out.